Hello, everyone, and welcome to Thought Leadership Thursday here at Bakerpedia, where we are joined by baking professionals to talk about what's new in the industry. Today, we are joined by Drew Pope, who is the VP of Business Development at Vantage Food. How are you today, Drew?
I'm great. Thanks for asking.
Awesome. Hey, Drew, you just go ahead and introduce yourself to the people watching.
Yeah, just a little bit about me. I call myself an engineer by trade. I worked most of my career in the industrial drying industry. About 15 years ago, I moved over to the dark side or sales. And so I've lived in that space for about 15 years. I worked with Vantage Specialty Chemicals and the food division of that, and been in this area in this role for about 5 years. I came over in an acquisition from the Amarna company, maker of specialty release agents, water-based release agents and equipment, and have had this leadership position in sales for most of the time, and have recently transitioned to a business development position. Vantage is owned by HIG Capital, and so we're one of a part of their portfolio, a much bigger entity that makes a lot of oleochemicals and emulsifiers.
Yeah. Well, let's do that. Let's hop into what your portfolio looks like and specifically what Vantage Food does within the baking industry.
So, really, kind of three major areas. We work in processing aids, ingredients, just basic ingredients, and then we also make quite a significant line of spray equipment, and that's there to deploy mainly our release agents, and to help us control the end result. If you have a good product, if it's paired with a good piece of equipment, then you can have good results. Our portfolio has quite a range. Like I said, we make release agents, we make stabilizers, we make a wide range of emulsifiers, polysorbates, SMS. We also make mono and diglycerides and also hydrated emulsifiers. Um, Defoamers, glycerin, to which there's been an enormous amount of supply and demand issues as of late, divider oils and greases and shortenings, and we also have a range of specialty kind of edible oils. Vantage acquired Mallet in 2016. That was kind of their centerpiece to their food division, and they added it back to their food grade emulsifier entity that's in Gurnee, Illinois. The company that I transferred with, Amarna Company, was purchased and acquired in about 2017, and the last acquisition was for a specialty chemical or a specialty ingredient entity called Textron for natural oils, and that happened in 19. We have a long history of innovating and partnering. We have lots of in-house R&D along the way. We have engineering services that kind of underpin that. But being a part of the bigger Vantage entity as a whole, it gives us a lot of access to research scientists, technicians, and a lot of people who can help us innovate. It is a challenging time to say the least,
Yeah.
but we've been able to thankfully adapt quickly and grow and service our existing customers as we're continuing to do other things. We're thankful of our size and scale. It gives us people and system benefits, the fact that we're big enough to kind of handle this complicated supply side, and it's just a true benefit to us, and weathering the storm and hopefully coming out the end of it and being able to kind of enable, that's one of our taglines lately, enabling ourselves for tomorrow's solutions today, and it couldn't be more important at the moment, simply because of the fact of all these supply chain challenges.
Yeah, and that's a really good word of just like enable because well, yeah, it is a benefit, and it's also a benefit for us bakers to pair with a company like Vantage Food because you guys have the resources to match our issues and to expedite the solution that we need. And so we use a dozen different types of oils and fats and emulsifiers throughout the plant for different applications. And so I'm pleased to have this conversation with you, so that maybe we can soon become business partners on a separate side. So we've already alluded to it, and the challenging times that it is. And yes, the reality is people are tired of hearing about it, but also the reality is that it's still continuing. So tell us about how Vantage Food has had to adjust quickly to the demands of the industry.
Yeah. So this is more and more about what everybody's been seeing and experiencing, but from COVID issues to the war in Europe to several really bad vegetable oil crop cycles, it's been enormously challenging environment. And that, along with the veg oil market, the petroleum market, has created a significant issue, packaging, transportation, and right now a strong relationship with your vendors is more important than ever in our world. And I was at a conference this week, and we were talking about some of the things that were surrounding this. And we used to talk a lot about just-in-time inventory, and at least for the near term, that just can't exist until the supply chain levels itself back out again. And most people are thinking that we're going to have, we're going to run out the end of this year. So I'm hopeful that Mother Nature will be kind to us and help us out so we can get better palm crops, better soy crops, better canola crops along the way. And so it's that whole difficulty in planning your production and, expecting something to show up in the morning to go in production that day and, maybe not arriving for weeks or maybe not at all. And so long lead times have been huge. So our key has been maximizing our customers, supply security. And that's resulted in carrying a lot higher inventory levels. And along with that goes inventory carrying costs, storage capacity, and cash flow as well. I mean,
Yeah.
we're buying a lot more products and holding them. So we're thankful that we're well structured to adapt to that. And we are constantly kind of casting an eye to the future to kind of figure out, hey, what's the next upset, or what's the cascade of, sunflower oil going away? What's going to happen ahead of that? So we can try to
Yeah.
stay ahead of ourselves. And so we've started talking a lot about good, better, best, and I'll talk about that a little bit more. But it really is the concept of saying, hey, right now this is the best functional ingredient that we have, and so how can we design around that until our more classic functional ingredients kind of come back, especially in the high oleic oil markets, which are especially functional ingredients for us. And
Right.
so we're going to have to find a time when the industry may have to settle for slightly less than they've been used to, but it's functional nonetheless. And so we've done that in a number of ways, even partnered with some of our customers who have taken advantage of some of their supply in some cases to supply them with, the different processing aids that we do. And so we're war gaming that stuff all the time and trying not to get caught flat footed, and really have done a great job of this so we can keep our customer base whole and keep them consistent. And so it's especially critical too in these big areas where, especially in the east and in the Chicago lands and California, where they're limited by space, we really have to be able to continue to supply in a very normalized way because they don't have, the ability to flex and kind of hold a bunch of extra inventory. So
Right.
doing all those things to streamline communications, we're doing those things to, when there's bad news and we feel like it's going to come, we try to not let bad news, dwell for too long and get it out there and just figure out how we can mitigate those issues. So, the other aside from that is annual contracts and things like that. I don't think those things are going to exist for a while until we can get the supply chain to kind of steady itself. So partnership was used a lot, just in a touchy-feely way once upon a time, but it's pretty important more than ever, and we feel that way about the people who supply it to us as well.
Yeah. Just a quick question about, you just mentioned the annual contracts. Are you kind of tabling those just because of the fluidity of just the market and everything, all the influences that go within it?
It's that, and it's the fact that, even some of the base oils and the base products, we're just, people in some cases are not offering, and so we have to align our coverage with what we can go back to our customers and say it's good. And the volatility of the costs and things like that, we're just trying to do our level best to, to do what we can in that space. And we can't offer extended contracts. If we did, we'd have to offer, it at some extended, exorbitant amount. And so we're aligning with our buying. And typically it's, it's a quarter, 2 quarters, maybe 3 quarters in some cases.
Yeah. Yep. Another thing you alluded to is partnership, and where you have to be competitive in the market, and with the supply chain strategies and struggles. Just tell us more about what it looks like to build that partnership and the relationship with your customers.
It has been a challenging time, and so maybe this time 2 years ago, I wouldn't have known nearly as much as I know about where all the oils come from, the palm markets, packaging, gosh, across that cross section. And so we communicate quite heavily with our customers, and we try to say, listen, hey, here's what's happening. Here's the environment we're dealing with. And we partnered with them in a way to kind of understand, what they're doing, how they're buying, and understanding that. And so we feel well placed. Every day is a new challenge, but we're trying to make sure we kind of get back and work with them on plant efficiencies and kind of what we can do to provide not only the high performance release agents to extend these pan cycles and kind of overall lower their cost of ownership, but to do more education, kind of more different things that we could just kind of help the bottom line. And, COVID, supply, all that stuff notwithstanding, we're continuing to kind of innovate. We're coming up with, we have a new small format piece of spray equipment that we're super excited about. There hasn't been as much of a space in that area. It's not really, it's that space between being a big baker, high volume baker, and somebody who's, kind of in that mid-size range, to give them something to have precision. And, all during this time over the last couple of years, we've again been innovating some on the equipment side as far as some new spray equipment and greasing equipment. Our equipment's been out there for a long time, but, lacked in some ways some innovation. And so we went back in and designed new equipment that's got a third less parts. And so we're excited about that for a lot of, it's designed not only for operation, but for design for maintenance, et cetera.
Yeah.
So those are all exciting parts. And, the climate for, people's desire for clean label solutions, that hasn't dampened whatsoever. And, we have a number of organic release agents, and especially our water-based release agent that works great for oven and industrial drying applications. And so we continue to do a lot in all those space. The last and kind of final piece there is that we make a range of kind of release agents, and some are water-based, some are oil-based, which is most people live in that space. And we also have some wax-based release agents that work particularly well for brownies and different things with inclusions, particularly sticky, challenging applications, kind of rounding out our space. But I would tell you that most of our R&D is being driven toward designing around these wargaming things, where we're talking about making sure that we're covered when the next shoe drops, as far as, you're not going to be able to get XYZ oil, how we can make sure that we don't have supply issues and challenges.
Yeah. That's a good way of looking at it, is playing these war games to strategize what's coming next. And just real briefly, just for people who might not have an idea off the top of your head, what sort of applications would be specific for water-based, oil-based? You already touched on wax-based, but...
Yeah, so most people have classically looked at some form of an oil and a lecithin as a main release agent. That's the vast majority of and that's for breads to cakes and pizzas, a wide range of things. Water-based release agents are a bit of more nichey. They they tend to be sprayed and applied. A water-based release agent, you're not using water. Water's just the carrier.
Right. Right.
So if you spray these products, it's an emulsification of water with these active ingredients. And as the water hits the surface, it's normally in some sort of a elevated temperature application. And as that water evaporates, it leaves behind a thin layer of release ingredients, which are typically lecithins or oils and monodiglycerides, polysorbates, things like that. And that creates a very fine barrier. And it works especially well for sticky oven applications, sticky industrial drying applications, and it allows people to run for far extended periods without having to come down for major cleanings to create, to get rid of residuals and buildup that might that might either blind over the bed assemblies and not allow the air to flow, so you'd lose efficiencies, and or to just get buildup and you'd start to have contamination issues.
Yep, I get that. We just send off pans and get pans and back from cleaning and reglazing, and so that oil can kind of, I don't know, make or break the longevity of your pans. And so I see the benefit of this right off the top. And so, Drew, I really appreciate this time. As we close, just do you have any other maybe leadership advice for the remainder of 2022?
Yeah, I think that, and it sounds a little trite, but just continuing to communicate. Now that COVID is hopefully in the rearview mirror, at least for the near term, we're getting out and shaking a lot more hands and getting back out into the field. And so it's getting in contact. And, during COVID, it was difficult to get people to even return your calls. And so now, just having that more intimate contact and kind of understanding. And again, it's about partners. For us, it's totally about making sure that we're not caught flat-footed and we don't have ingredients that are showing up. And so keeping that supply chain filled up and, making sure you're partnering with the right entities is incredibly important to us. And looks like we're going to be in this for a while. So fingers crossed, Mother Nature is nice to us and palm markets resume some more normalcy, and some of the other oils and everything else has a return to normal. So that, which hopefully everybody's in a safer spot.
That's wonderful. And that's good advice. Communication and just hope for the future. So one thing I've learned for us bakers is to go check out Vantage Food.
VantageGRP.com. So Vantage GRP is short for group.com.
Perfect. Go check there. And also, if you are possibly not a baker, get into the palm and the oil planting business because
or the air freight business.
Yes, so we need more of that. Anyways, Drew, thank you so much. It's been a pleasure, and I'm glad to see you here joining the Bakerpedia community. Bakers, happy baking, and go check out Vantage Food. That's all for now, and we'll see you next time. Bye.
Thanks so much. Gideon. Bye.